This theory is going to sound incredibly crazy just by the sound of it, and I promise you this is no April Fool's joke. But I'll give you a damning piece of evidence right from the get-go, because I need to draw you in, because this is a damn good theory, and I don't want you leaving. Asta is a child of time, born in one age, and sent forward into the future of another. I say this because at the front door view of the church resides the skeleton of the ancient demon Licht. But when Lasita drops Asta off at the front of the church, we get a view from the front of the church, looking at Lasita, and in the background, there is no ancient demon bones. They are not there. Whereas when you see this scene with Asta looking in the same direction, there are ancient demon bones. How can it be possible for the bones of the ancient demon to be present when Asta is 15 and then not be present when he was dropped off? The ancient demon was slain over 500 years ago, so that cannot be an explanation of just the different times. The only logical explanation here is that after Lasita dropped off Asta at the church, that a time spell activated around him and launched him far into the future. Remember, we do know that a time devil does exist in Black Clover, and in my previous theory, I postulated that the time devil is not an evil devil and that he is working for the forces of good. This devil is probably named Astaroth. There is far more evidence to go through that nearly proves that Asta was sent forward in time thanks to a scheme from the Devil of Time magic. Please stay tuned if you want to be convinced that Asta's history and origin is even greater than you could possibly have imagined. Hey, what's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Broku, and welcome back to another crazy theory, but I promise you guys that this is actually backed up by a lot of what has been shown in the series. I believe in this theory that Asta was sent forward in time, that he was actually born hundreds of years ago in Black Clover. So with this being a crazy theory, it's absolutely crazy, but it makes a lot of sense. I do need you guys to really support this. Please leave a like. Let's shoot for 3,000 for this one, because, man, this is insane. It needs to get out there. Also, please subscribe if not already, and turn on notifications. And also, you can join my Discord and follow me on Twitter. Those will be linked down below. With that being said, guys, let's get into this theory, this insane theory that Asta was sent forward in time. Now, to start, I want to further expand upon the evidence that Asta was sent forward in time from my first piece. Again, when Lasita dropped off Asta at the church, there was no ancient demon in the background. Though, from Asta's point of view, what faced the front of the church was that of the ancient demon's skeleton. What even further backs this up is that this building is here in the image with Lasita, and it seems that its remains of it are in the image where Asta is looking at the ancient demon. These rubbled remains of a building seem to resemble the same materials of the building that was present in Lasita's flashback. Again, I have shown that these are the same views, yet the ancient demon is missing in the background. Even the surrounding area around the ancient demon is nearly identical. But, you guys, this actually perfectly adds up within the timeline of Black Clover. Lasita dropped Asta off at the church, then an unknown amount of time later, she finds the 5-leaf Clover grimoire of Licht, and then she finds Libe the next day. According to the timeline of the series, Lasita finding the grimoire and meeting Libe has to be 500 years ago. We know this because Sekra was the guardian of the grimoire, and once Asta got the grimoire, Nero, or Sekra, became a stalker to him and was guiding of the grimoire. But she was not present in the time where Lasita found it. Why is this? Well, because she said that after she transformed into a bird, she fell asleep for several years, but when she woke up, she guarded the grimoire for 500 years. She wasn't guarding the grimoire when Lasita found it because Sekra was asleep. It makes no sense in the scenario otherwise. Sekra is supposed to be guarding this 5-leaf Clover grimoire of Licht. The only way it makes sense is if this all happened hundreds of years ago, during the time when Sekra was asleep. Otherwise, it just doesn't add up. It is also important to note that the title of the episode where Lasita was revealed is titled Faraway Future. It would make sense if Black Clover, in the current time, was the faraway future to when Lasita had found the grimoire and Libe. This theory actually answers the multiple questions and explains things. When Lasita found the grimoire, it was really clean, and they could tell it was a 5-leaf Clover grimoire. But when Asta found it, it was so worn, tattered, and dirty that he couldn't even tell it was a 5-leaf Clover grimoire. Time is something that would explain this away. Time allows entropy to erode. It also explains another thing. Asta is immune to the life energy attacks. This means Lasita cannot harm him. We know she regrets leaving Asta at the church, so why not just go back and get him? Well, she may have, or even probably did go back to the church to reclaim her son, only to discover that he was nowhere to be found, absent from the church, while technically still occupying the same space, just in a different time. a time that is a faraway future. I remember when this chapter came out, with Lasita finding the grimoire, everyone was confused because we knew Sekira was a guardian of the grimoire, but wasn't featured in this chapter. And honestly, it does make no sense. At the time when she was sleeping, that was over 500 years ago. But for it to make sense, Lasita found the grimoire in the few years where Sekira was sleeping. This theory actually cleans up the timelines. And when it comes to themes, oh my god guys, this makes it even better. We know the connection between time and space is immaculate. Yuno came from a different space to get to the church. Asta came from a different time to get to the church. The symbolism here is huge and actually fits perfectly since it is Libe with a connection to Lucifero and the gravity magic, not Asta. Asta's childhood was affected by time, Libe's by the gravity of Lucifero, Yuno moving to a different space to survive, running from Zenon and the spatial devil, and then Noelle being directly involved with Magicula and the curses. Again, Yuno and Noelle are directly affected by the Triad in their history. Asta is not. Libe is the one connected to it, which makes me think that this true connection lies within that of Astaroth and the Time Devil. I believe that what happened here is that Astaroth needed Asta to be paired with Libe and his powers, but those powers would take a long time to develop. In this theory, it means it took Libe about 500 years to develop the anti-magic power. That is, if time passes the same within a grimoire, which it may or may not. Knowing that Asta probably couldn't live forever, he sends him forward in time, the perfect timing, so that when he turns 15, he gets a grimoire. We have to remember that Libe's anti-magic powers awoke the same day Asta got a grimoire. It is shown that the instant after Libe awakened his anti-magic powers, the grimoire chose Asta. This cannot be a coincidence. I do firmly believe that this has been planned. This also answers another huge question from the fans. If Libe saw Lasita as his mother, then why did he just not automatically assume that Asta was her son? He looks like her, he doesn't have magic, which he should have remembered Lasita's curse and put two and two together. But nope, though he reminds him of her, he chooses to try and fight Asta still. Only till after the fight he realizes that it is her son. It would be harder for him to believe this because it had been 500 years ago. He would assume that if she did have a son, he would have died due to the massive lapse of time. So this makes sense. While he recognizes Asta as similar to Lasita, it was so unbelievable to believe that it wasn't until after the fight, after he put all the pieces together, knew 500 years passed, this is Lasita's son. He was just sent forward in time by the Time Devil, Astaroth. This theory makes everything make sense. Why Sekira wasn't present when Lasita found the 5-leaf Clover Grimoire. It explains why the title of the episode is a faraway future. It explains why the Grimoire was clean when Lasita found it, but dirty when it chose Asta. Why Lasita didn't just go back to get Asta if she regretted it, and why the ancient demon skeleton was absent from Hajj village when Lasita dropped Asta off at the church. Now, why did the Time Devil send Asta ahead into the future? This goes into my last Black Clover theory, that Astaroth was betrayed by other QLiphoth devils. This is because in demonology, the unholy trinity, the three kings of hell, are Astaroth, Beelzebub, and Lucifer. There are top three devils in Black Clover, a devil of time, space, and gravity. Lucifero has gravity magic. This makes it likely that Zenon's space devil is Beelzebub, and Astaroth is the devil of time. And Dante stated that the Dark Triad had the highest ranking devils. But what makes that weird is that Vonica has Magicula. Magicula is the father of curse magic, not time magic, which made me think that Astaroth is similar to Julius and Asta. He wants to change society for good, and Lucifero didn't want this, so he teamed up with Beelzebub and Magicula and overthrew him. But Astaroth knew this was going to happen, so he sent Asta forward in time so that he could be paired with Libe and his anti-magic. Now I know some people say this theory is dumb, because this is an anime-only thing. In the manga, it only attributes a single panel to Lasita dropping off Asta at the church. But it is important to note that this is still a canon scene. The anime is just adding more context to it, just like they added more context by showing the devil who threw Libe into the physical world. This devil is likely very important, based on several things, but I'm going to go over that specifically in a different theory. But this was also a canon scene in the manga, that has only just been added with more context to the scene. Thus, it is logical to deduce that this is an actual character. And this is not the first time that they has done this in Black Clover. It did this with Chapter 1. The anime added so much context to it, but it's still canon. It's the same thing here. It just showed the flashback of Lasita dropping off Asta at the church. There's other scenarios where things have happened in the anime first, and then appeared later in the manga, like the snowman character who was first shown in the filler of the anime, but then actually made an appearance in the manga. Even if you remove this added context from the anime, if you remove this piece of evidence to say it's just anime only, it still is a theory that can stand on its own. None of this makes sense if Sekira is supposed to be a guardian of the grimoire, but then wasn't there when Lasita got it. When we know that she was asleep for a few years, it all adds up. Is this why Yuno wasn't yet present in this scene where Lasita dropped him off? Because this was hundreds of years before he was actually born. And then this is why Tabata specifically didn't show Yuno actually landing on the doorstep of the church, because Asta wasn't at the church yet, or rather, he wasn't at that time yet. I think this is a really good theory, and I think what this means is that Asta was born over 500 years ago. Then Lasita had to drop him off at the church. Then an unknown amount of time later happened, and that's when she found the grimoire. Then the next day, she found Libe. Or then they spent roughly a year together because multiple seasons passed when she was raising him. Then she died, he went into the grimoire, and then it was probably he was waiting there for a long time in the grimoire before Asta would be turned 15, and then he would get the grimoire. Now, this would mean that when Asta was born, Licht and Lumiere had not fought yet. It meant that it only was until after Lasita had found the grimoire, that is when the whole events had happened. Because, remember, Sekra fell asleep, so that grimoire is free to be taken, the 5-leaf clover grimoire of Licht. Lasita is the one that found it, because Sekra was falling asleep. Then, she dies, the grimoire is left behind, Sekra wakes up, and now it's 500 years later. Again, it all makes sense with the revelation of a time devil, this scene adding the context showing no ancient demon. It really just all makes sense and adds up perfectly together. That being said, guys, I want to know your thoughts of this theory down below. Did this blow your mind? Because honestly, it blew my mind. When I talked to my friend about it who loves Black Clover, it blew his mind. This blew my mind when I noticed this today. I was like, wait a second. Why is there no ancient demon in this scene? It should have been there when she was looking back at Asta. That's the front of the church where she left him off. She should have seen, or we should have seen, the ancient demon in the background looking at us, but it wasn't there. And it makes sense with all of this. I remember specifically when it showed Lasita with this grimoire, when that chapter came out months ago. Everybody was like, what the fuck? Sekra is supposed to be guarding that. Why isn't she there? This explains why. So, let me know your thoughts down below. Please leave a like, guys. Let's shoot for 3,000 because this is an absolutely insane theory. Also, please subscribe if you enjoyed this theory and turn notifications. You can join my Discord and follow me Twitter, link down below. That means tomorrow we'll do the Black Clover review, and then Sunday, I'll be doing my Jujutsu Kaisen theory. That was also really exciting and interesting theory, so please stay tuned for that. That'll come out this Sunday. That being said, hope you guys all have an amazing day. Plus...